Hey everybody, welcome to the Stock Car Spectacle. I'm Ian Jortson.
And I'm Mike Gamble.
And guys, Nick Kinzel is off today, but we're back. It's been over a month. I'm glad we're back on Stock Car Spectacle. Been really busy, had a lot of stuff come up. I got married and then I went on my honeymoon and then I got COVID afterwards. So it's been a little busy for me. So yeah, that's why we haven't been able to shoot for the past month or so.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit busy, just, a
Yeah.
couple little life events going on. And then you
Well,
get the Rona, put you down.
yeah, I was down with COVID for 13 days and just quarantined right here. This was my living space for a while, so I don't like being back
Man,
here.
walking is like, hello, darkness, my old friend.
Exactly. But let's get back into it, guys. Welcome back. So let's start off with our diecast of the week. Mike, what you got for us, buddy?
All right, as you know, since we've last recorded, I turned my game room into the nursery for my daughter, who will be here in December. So I got a lot of my diecast kind of put away. However, luckily, my most recent diecast to come in, I forgot to pack away because I never got a chance to unbox it. So for the first time, I'm gonna play Bubba Wallace's Talladega race win from last season, the first 2311 race win, um, Bubba's first career win. This thing just came in a couple weeks back. Like I said, I got it, never really got a chance to open it, so I just kind of laid eyes on it for the first time, probably about an hour ago, and yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, mine came in like when I was on the honeymoon, and I literally just took mine off of the little black stand probably like 2 days ago and put it in the display case up here. So yeah, I love that diecast.
Yeah, well, you took yours off the black standard. You're doing better than me, dude. So,
All right, so for my diecast of the week, since it pretty much looks like that Kurt Busch is going to be retiring, he's got an announcement with a press conference coming up in a few days. And there's been rumors that they're going to be moving Tyler Reddick up to 2311 a lot quicker than assumed. So a lot of rumors are that Kurt Busch is retiring. So if that's the case, I want to bring out this Kurt Busch 2016 Pocono Win diecast, custom made by my buddy boy Dalton Good. This was just an original Haas car, and then he put the monster on the back, made the whole race version, made it look exactly how he did when he won Pocono 2016. So, Dalton, thank you for this. This is a beautiful, beautiful diecast.
yeah, that old Dalty's got some skills, man. That thing looks awesome. I've seen it in person before, and he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, he did wonders on it. So, yeah, I hope this isn't the end for Kurt, but he's got to do what's best for his health.
Yeah, the injury scare, definitely not, something you take lightly at the later end of a career. You're probably closer to the end than you are the beginning, obviously. And then you couple that with the safety concerns of this next gen car, which I know we'll be speaking about here shortly. Um, Makes for an interesting situation. If he does decide to call it a career, what a career it's been, huh?
Yeah, well over 20 years. He's won basically every season of his career. Just phenomenal. He won at Kansas earlier this year with 2311 and that 45 car to cap it all off. So, yeah, one hell of a career for Kurt Busch. Daytona 500 winner, championship
Yeah.
winner. He's won all the big crown jewel races. So, he's done it all.
First ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion. Like you just said, he's won everything there is to win for the most part. Cup Series champion, Daytona 500 winner. He's got the crown jewels on his resume. His last win was in the Jordan car too. That's a good way to go out, man.
Yeah, I'd say so. So, yeah, speaking of that, it just came out that Alex Bowman, he is not going to be coming back into the 48 car for the rest of the season due to his concussion issues. So Noah Gregson, he's going to be stepping in, filling in for Alex Bowman for the rest of the season. As a Noah Gregson fan, I'm excited. He gets really good seat time in a really good car. I really hope Alex Bowman gets better. He'll be ready to go next year, because you don't want to see that for anyone. I'm not the biggest Alex Bowman fan, but you don't want to see that for anybody. He's a really good guy. He's a good driver, and I hope to see him back in that 48 because that is no way to possibly end your career because of a small wreck like that.
No, absolutely. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Alex Bowman is far from the top of list of the drivers that I like and root for on a weekly basis. But you never want to see anything like that happen in the NASCAR family. Another guy with issues due to wrecks from this next gen car. Um, and this is one of those things. He's still young enough in his career. You start getting injuries like this now. Um, as people who may or may not have had them know, concussions kind of compound sometimes. You get one, it makes it exponentially easier to get more. So that's really scary for a guy who's probably got a long cup career ahead of him still. So hope he gets right. I hope he takes his time and gets right, which it looks like he's really doing because if you don't really properly take care of these things, they can really linger. And, like I said, you open the door for more. So hope he gets well. And I think Noah G is going to really do well in that car. From the times we've seen him so far, he's had speed at times. So good opportunity for him along the way, too.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I think of is Dale Jr. with his concussion issues. I mean, they first started really with him in 2012 when he crashed during a test at Michigan. And he had like lingering symptoms for years and got into small wrecks, and he wouldn't feel the same with how he normally did beforehand. So I'm just worried about Alex's future with him getting in more wrecks and possibly hurting an already bruised brain, you know?
Absolutely. But the other flip side is not oddly, but luckily enough, the science and the medicine behind concussion and concussion treatment especially has come a long way, even since Dale Jr.'s, which really doesn't seem like they're that long ago. Back then they still had that kind of that mentality of somebody gets a concussion, you want to put them in a dark room with no light. And we're finding out that's actually kind of the opposite of what you really want to do. You want to kind of put them in stimulating light, and lots of other different things have come out. So um I think Alex is going to have much more of an opportunity to have a longer career just because the medicine and the science as to where we're at in 2022 is advanced a long way since Dale Jr.'s concussions.
Yeah, absolutely. So, best wishes for Alex Bowman. Yeah, like you said, Noah Gregson's going to do great in that car. He already proved it that he could run with the big boys at the Roval until he got spun out a few times. But yeah, Noah's doing great so far. And then so AJ Almondinger, he's going to be taking over the rest of the Cup races that Noah was going to be doing in the 16 car. So a little driver swap there, but I guess Noah was the number one guy to step into that 48.
Which is cool to see. I don't think it's any secret that Noah's one of the top prospects in NASCAR, and as we know, will be full time next year for Petty GMS. Getting some seat time at a quality organization like HMS is just going to do nothing but benefit him as he makes the transition to full time Cup Series driver next year. Good for Dinger too, because as we know, he will also be full time next year in the Cup Series. So more and more reps in this car, again, only going to benefit these guys.
Yeah, exactly. All three of the, top Xfinity guys are moving the cup next year. Most likely Ty Gibbs is going to be taking the 18. Nothing's been officially announced yet, but yeah, it's just going to be crazy to see Noah, Gibbs, and Dinger all run, next year in the Cup Series. It's going to be wild to see. Xfinity Series is going to be really weird to look at next year.
Well, maybe not so much Dinger because he's not exactly a rookie, but it kind of gives me flashbacks to the Custer, Briscoe, Bell rookie year. Remember Reddick
Mm.
when we were like, "Man, this is the most stacked rookie class NASCAR's had in a long time." And I think we're going to have a really, really fun battle for rookie of the year next year between Ty Gibbs and Noah Gregson and whoever else ends up there along the way. As we're kind of filling out the 2023 seat situation. So, two really high quality drivers. You know, Ty is going to step into a really good situation in that 18 if that is in fact what happens. And Noah's going to a team where they've shown speed at times. And he's going to have opportunities to grow just like Eric Jones has done in that 43 while he's in the 42 there.
Yeah. I think with Noah going over to Petty GMS, I think they're just going to do a lot of growing together. Yeah, like you said, we've seen a lot of speed out of that 43 car. Noah might be able to help out that 42, get some more speed, and become a competitive car. So I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to bring a lot of sponsorship dollars, I'm sure, with him to that 42, which is going to help put some faster lap times down week in and week out. So I think he should be a step up as a driver too from Ty Dillon. So we'll see what happens. Little more apprehensive because at 42 it has at times looked a tad off the pace, and I can't really attribute all of that to the driver, but you know, a better driver and a better sponsorship package usually end up fixing a lot of problems.
Yeah, with all the attention that Noah's getting right now, he's getting a lot of. I mean, before he was supposed to drive the 48, he was supposed to get that pardon my cheesesteak car on that 16. So a little,
That's right.
yeah, a little run with Barstool. So I mean, the boy is getting national attention. So he's definitely gonna have some big old sponsors coming with him. You know, he's still somewhat associated with Wendy's, that Black Rifle Coffee, Bass Pro. You know, Johnny Morris loves him over at Bass Pro. So he's got a lot of opportunities to help Petty GMS make some faster engines.
Right, and those are just the ones we know about. I mean, what we know about Noah Gragson is he's super marketable. From that kind of standpoint, he's kind of a very good spokesperson for NASCAR. The look he has, the attitude he has, I think that's exactly what the sport wants right now. And in turn, I think that's kind of what sponsors want right now too. So, he could be another one of those guys where that's what he's got now, and then 2 years just be bringing in all the sponsor dollars.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, really, the sky is the limit for Noah. But let's talk about this Roval weekend. We started off with the Xfinity Series, and of course, AJ Allmendinger, the road course king, he led the field to green, and then early trouble for Daniel Hemrick. I'm kind of glad Nick's not on this show. Uh, Crashed into the wall lap 3, got some minor damage, but kind of set him back. Then Dinger won stage 1 and Brandon Jones won stage 2. And then old Riley Herbst just getting into his usual mess. He was involved in probably like 5 different incidents throughout this race. Just couldn't catch a break throughout the whole thing. Um, yeah, I'm really interested to see if he's still going to be staying with that 98 next season, because obviously he's not performing, but he's bringing in that money. And Tony Stewart, he had Danica in for so long, kind of looks at money over performance.
Well, I mean, sponsorship dollars talk, man. In a
Yeah.
sport where it's, imperative these guys come in with a little bit of backing to make everything work and to make ends meet and stuff. Here's a guy with a built-in monster truck worth of sponsorship dollars coming with him to the racetrack week in and week out. So, sometimes you're probably willing as an owner to work with a guy and hope he kind of progresses as a driver and stuff, knowing you're going to pretty fat check along the way too. So, we'll see. I mean, the other side of that though is it's been how long he's been here now, and we see the same things week in and week out with Riley Herbst. So there's also kind of got to be a limit too, where you start looking to see who the next young guy with sponsorship money behind Riley is going to be. And I would venture to guess Tony and Stuart Haas are kind of getting to that point now.
Yeah, my one thing is that they are definitely eyeballing Haley Deegan right now. Haley Deegan, she does drive for Ford over in the Truck Series. She's making her Xfinity debut this weekend for the SS Greenlight Racing. I think if Riley Herbst isn't working out, Haley Deegan, she's already sponsored by Monster. She has like Craftsman behind her. She has a whole bunch of other sponsors that could follow her. I feel like if Tony wants to move drivers, I mean, there's your perfect fit right there. Ford monster driver. It's going to be perfect for that 98. I don't know if it's going to be better talent wise, because we haven't really seen a whole lot of speed from Haley Deegan, even though her teammates, they do outrun her in the same equipment. I mean, look at Ryan Preece. They're part of the same team. So I don't know. Maybe she needs adjustment from the Truck Series to cars. I mean, we saw that with Harrison Burton. He sucked in the Truck Series, and look what he did when he went to the Xfinity Series. So who knows? Maybe it would help her out.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this with a couple different people too, where maybe just the truck series and the way the middle of the pack battles their week in and week out isn't really their kind of scene or their strength. And we've, like you just said, Harrison Burton's kind of example number one of guy who went to the Xfinity series after kind of struggling the truck series and lit the world on fire. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on with Haley Deegan. They're kind of, fast tracking her to probably end up being the next female Cup Series driver. So that being said, if I'm Stuart Haas, you get a chance to put her in your car full time next year. Watch all the sponsors try to jump on that train early in the game. I could see that being a pretty good situation too. And at the very least, it can't be very much worse than what they got going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know freaking like Connor, he's been teasing me with this the whole time, but I think this would be a great pipeline for Haley Deegan to move into the Cup Series, do a few years in that 98 in the Xfinity Series. And then we know that Kevin Harvick is going to be retiring in a few years. Who knows? Maybe they'll line up that car for her one day. I mean, like I said, going to bring in a whole lot of sponsorship dollars.
Well, whether it's the four or another car at Stuart Haas, like we are just saying, money talks, and she's going to be another one that comes with a lot of money. I think it's going to also kind of depend on how she develops in the Xfinity series because, that's one it really does kind of show with the difficulty to drive those cars, the talent that's in that series every week. You really get a pretty good barometer as to what you got in a driver week in and week out in that series. So if she comes up there and holds her own, I would venture to guess that that's exactly what we're going to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, Eric Almirola, he said he has 2 years left. Who knows how long Cole Custer is going to be on that ride? Chase Briscoe seems pretty secure. So right now, there's in a few years there could be 3 rides that could be opened up for her. So she's got a lot of opportunity right now. I feel like there's going to be
Absolutely.
a lot of Ford drivers are going to be having some Cup Series opportunities here in a few years.
Yeah, we may not be too far off of what TRD had about 3, 4 years ago, where they're literally kind of, splitting hairs over what top talented drivers to keep at Joe Gibbs, what top talented drivers to keep in their top Xfinity program, so on and so forth. Kind of like we saw with the Christopher Bell, Eric Jones situation, and some other guys too. Ford and their development program look really, really strong right now. The quality of drivers they've got coming in are next level.
So yeah, Ford has a lot going on for them, but AJ Allmendinger, he ended up victorious in this Xfinity race at the Roval. He's undefeated ever since we started running there. Guy knows this freaking track. We know he's the road course king, but I'd really say he's the Roval king at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if AJ Allmendinger is running the Roval, and you're a gambling man, all puns intended, by the way, it's free money button betting on him here. Absolutely free
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, absolutely. He just does so well here. So then let's move on to the Cup Series race. Joey Logano won the pole and he won stage one. And Ross Chastain won stage two. And I got to say, these first 2 stages was a freaking snooze fest. Could not see any passing for the lead, really any passing on the track at all. It was just all follow the leader. It was probably one of the worst road course races I've seen up until about 5 laps ago when we got that late race caution.
It had that feel. I want to say it was maybe 2017 fall Talladega, where you're just kind of waiting. It was like one of the first years where the manufacturer orders were super, super prevalent again. And
Mm-hmm.
remember, you're just like kind of like waiting for something to happen, and nothing really ever did happen. It had obviously at the end we got some fireworks, but it had a lot of that same feel throughout the second stage. Who was like, all right, well, we know it's gonna start popping off here, but when is that gonna happen? So I was gonna make the comment too. You just kind of read off the first 2 stage winners, and may sound like we're kind of glossing over some stuff, but we're really not. There was like nothing going on here. Bubba had a couple issues early. I mean, unless there's something I'm kind of forgetting here, there really wasn't much else going on.
Yeah, really. Yeah, you had Bubba going off track a few times. Kyle Larson, well, he hit the wall and he was having mechanical issues the whole time, which basically took him out of playoff contention. He ended up being like 5, 6 laps down. Um, but yeah, and then we had a late race caution, 3 to go, and the madness ensues. And we had Noah Gregson, Harrison Burton spinning right at the top, and then Chase Elliott gets spun by Tyler Reddick. And this is when it really starts getting good, you guys. Yeah, Kyle Larson, he's still trying to fight to stay alive in the playoffs, and Chase Briscoe, he was passing he was driving the hardest that he has ever driven in his entire career. I got to say, from what I saw from the data. And then a caution brings out the OT. Christopher Bell ended up beating out Kevin Harvick, and then we had a little controversy with Cole Custer. I don't really know if NASCAR was right for fining Cole Custer, suspending his crew chief, because we've seen so many team orders throughout the years where they're like block this guy, and then nothing has come out of it. But Cole Custer does it, and he gets slapped with a fine for kind of breaking in front of Eric Jones and Austin Dillon for allowing Chase Briscoe to go by. I mean, you even look at the data with Chase Briscoe, he was sending it into that turn too. So it's a lot to go off of. Mike, what's your opinion on
Yeah.
this whole situation?
Sit tight, pal. I got a lot to say here.
Yeah.
All right. So first and foremost, regarding the matter, I actually had to go back and do some research with some help from my good buddy Mr. Bob Pockris on the Twitters there. To go back and kind of look through the rule book, there is rules in NASCAR's rule book stating that drivers have to do everything they can to get the best position possible. Because I wasn't really sure that it was an actual rule as much as it was a judgment call, but there is a rule kind of stating, they do have to. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing here, but to try to do everything they can to get the best possible position and not to intentionally manipulate the finishing order of a race. But here's my problem with that rule: if you want to play this game, then you've got to call it all the time, every time. So every time a leader doesn't lap a teammate before the end of the stage and lets him stay on the lead lap, you're manipulating the race. Every time you see a situation like that, the first time we went to Atlanta, that first race, what was that, 2020? No, 2021.
Yeah, when Ross Chastain was
Ross
helping Kurt.
Chastain put a little blocker Ruski on for Kurt to get the win, technically manipulating the race to a
Yep.
degree. If you want to go down that road, we want to go back to close your ears here, Ian. You want to go back to Talladega 2015 when Kevin Harvick tried to murder Trevor Bayne. He brought the yellow out to finish under the yellow there, so he wouldn't lose spots, manipulated the race. No penalties gone there. So this is the first time we've seen a call in this kind of significance since 2013. And my problem is, I've watched the video about 1,000 times now. The only real damning evidence, in my opinion, is, you got the spotter and crew chief getting on the radio. Oh, we got to tire down. We got to tire down.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's got to be some kind of code. But otherwise, watching it with the naked eye over and over, like you said, Briscoe sends it so hard into the chicane there. If you don't check up, you're going too wide with a guy driving like a madman. What are you supposed to do other than let him go?
Yeah.
I mean, it probably helps as a teammate, but like you said, man, team order's been going on in NASCAR since the inception of the sport. The very beginning of the sport, teams would always end up fielding extra drivers and extra cars just so in case they need extra spots and stuff, they could have them drop out as brake failures or engine failures or whatnot to manipulate the race. I didn't see anything of that to this degree here. Does Cole Custer check up pretty good there? Yeah. It doesn't end up manipulating the finish to the playoffs whatsoever. So he's really only getting brought down on in this kind of manner for manipulating the race here. And, while I do understand the point, at the same time, if you're going to make this call, there's so many other ones that you've missed throughout the season that it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's been many times, yeah, even this season where they should have called that. I mean, a few years ago, you had, what was it, with Eric Jones and Denny Hamlin kind of working together at Bristol. You had, I mean, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson at Bristol last year too, saying that I'm going to block him, give the 5 the win. That's manipulating the win, and you got to call that for every time. And they just get picky and choosy sometimes with how they're going to penalize people. I mean, hence look at when a few weeks ago when Byron took out Hamlin under yellow. They weren't going to penalize him at all, and then they pull out a penalty for Kevin Harvick and then another penalty for Denny Hamlin. They're picky and choosy with their penalties, and it's kind of getting ridiculous at this point. I mean, even Tony Stewart is saying he's getting so fed up with NASCAR. He doesn't even want to race in it anymore.
Yeah, you've seen his little snarky tweet the other day looking for
Yeah.
another weekend hobby and preferably in the South during NASCAR race weekends.
Uh,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think NASCAR is really under a black cloud right now with the last few penalties and judgment calls or lack thereof, if you will, with a couple of these makes this one look worse than it is. If this is one of those where this happens, we haven't had a bunch of controversy the last couple weeks, it's still bad, but it doesn't look as bad. But we're just removed from the William Byron, Denny Hamlin situation. This just, to me, again, then you throw the book at Stuart Haas over something like this. To me, it's ridiculous. Like I said, again, I do kind of understand where they're coming from with the penalty to a degree. But again, like we were saying, there's so many other instances that are technically race manipulation and finish manipulations that if you're going to call this one and you're not calling those, you're really doing a bad job.
yeah. I'm just saying, I'm not one for conspiracy theories or anything, but if it was someone like Kyle Larson slowing down the field to help Chase Elliott get in or something like that, I feel like they wouldn't look at it whatsoever, go right over their head. Just they would forget about it. You would have people bitching on Twitter about it, but I feel like NASCAR wouldn't hear it just because I don't know. Hendrick, I don't know, they love him too much.
Well,
That's
there's the
my two
Hendrick
cents.
thing, there's the Kyle Larson thing, because he's also in a degree involved in this because it was almost his playoff spot that came into play here. Obviously, ended up not mattering anyway because Chase
Yeah.
Briscoe was in a spot to transfer before this happened. But what if it did? What if it did affect it?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you got to kind of do what they did with Jeff Gordon when the whole spin gate happened with Clint Boyer. You got to add like another playoff spot for Kyle Larson that got screwed out of it.
Well, what I would tell you is this, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me. If that were to be something that happened, say this was something that it cost Kyle Larson that last spot in the next round, I know NASCAR would really fumble fuck up however they ended up, sorting it all out. So
Mm-hmm.
I have no real confidence in the officiating the last few weeks here. So
No,
if they got themselves into even further controversial opinion, I'm not really putting any money on them, getting it right.
no, like you said, yeah, with how everything's been going this year with officiating and safety, I don't trust NASCAR one single bit right now. They said this was one of the safest race cars we've gone into, and boom, we got fucking three injured drivers this year with Kurt Busch, Cody Ware, and now Alex Bowman. So yeah, things are going great this year. I hope they figure this shit out because it's just getting ridiculous at this point.
Well, it's really bad when the drivers are as fed up with it as they are. I mean, they had to have a little kind of drivers meeting over it, which I don't know if you heard, but Brad Kozlowski basically referred to as Festivus, where they're all airing their grievances. Uh, you know, and it's kind of sad it's come to this where the safety is kind of playing second fiddle to the excitement and the entertainment. But you know what? No, NASCAR's got nobody to blame but themselves. You went to the stage racing, you went to this goofy playoff format where, wins and points and eliminations all matter from round to round. You get yourself to these elimination races like the Roval and some of these other places where you're putting guys in positions to be desperate and make some of these moves. Guys are going to end up getting hurt. This is not what you really want to be seeing week in and week out, guys getting hurt and guys getting put in positions where they could be getting hurt over craziness. But when you're putting the entertainment value and those kind of things ahead of safety, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I feel like too, these teams can't build the cars anymore. It all comes from NASCAR now. So a lot of times, I don't know, I feel like these teams should know exactly what's going into these cars.
Yeah,
Like
I
I'm
mean,
sure they do, but I feel like they should be the ones to build it. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of NASCAR bringing all the product to the teams.
I don't mind the fact that they provide the chassis just for the fact that it does kind of quote unquote even the playing field. Because I think if we weren't doing that with this next gen car, you wouldn't see the track houses and some of these other teams making the jumps they are. You wouldn't see Petty GMS as fast as they are because of the disparity between the incomes, the personnel, the equipment, everything that's at the disposal of teams like Hendrick, Joe Gibbs, Stuart Haas, and some of the powerhouses, Penske. Uh, then you get to like Spire, where it's like basically you and me could be on the team almost. They got like
Right.
9 full-time employees. So, I do understand that part, but I will almost double down on the fact that again, if you're NASCAR and you're supplying the chassis, they better be safe because it comes back to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and even like, these, just these parts, malfunctioning and everything. It's just, I don't know. That's the part that just gets me is that all these things come from NASCAR and they just end up not working. That's why I love Kevin Harvick's his crappy ass parts t-shirt that he came out with because it's just so true. Like, yeah, these cars are amazing on most of the tracks that we see, like some of the best racing that we've seen in years, but they break, the tires fall off so bad. It's just been a mess, and obviously they're not safe because we have three injured drivers from this season. So yeah, racing's great, but they have a lot to work on with this car, and I feel like they just kind of brought it out of the gates a little too early. They should have waited a few more years and done a little bit more crash testing and more stuff like that. I'm glad they're doing more crash testing now, but too little, too late.
Right.
This is why Ryan Newman did not want to step into this car because he knew from seeing the data that it was not safe.
Right, absolutely. Again, when you're the sanctioning body, safety's got to be the priority. And there were major questions about the safety of the car coming into the season that never got answered, and now we're getting the answers, and they're not the answers you want to be hearing. These aren't the answers that, oh no, the car's safe, the data was wrong. No, the data was right. These cars are insanely and unsafe. We're seeing guys get concussions, putting them out for entire seasons over wrecks on TV that we're watching that look like just innocent spins into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the data is showing the G forces these guys are going through in those wrecks and everything, and it's pretty intense to kind of see when you look at some of this stuff. So I've been kind of reading up. It looks like they've got some answers as to how to try to, make the car safer for next year. And the thing that's really nice to see is it looks like NASCAR's footing the bill for all the teams to bring the chassis in to get them, safe and up for next year and so on and so forth. So that's a nice step in the right direction, but it's almost a little too late. So, going back to our conversation about a guy like Kurt Busch, like we said about Ryan Newman, also, if you're Kurt Busch, are you looking at this going, yeah, I'm not coming back next year? No.
Yeah, if I was Kurt Busch, like we said earlier, he's had over 20 years of greatness, had a wonderful career, capped it off with a win this year. Why risk the health of your brain? Why risk getting CTE? Like, look at guys like freaking like Antonio Brown. There's so many NFL players where you see where they have just completely lost their minds because of brain damage. Do you really want to end up like him? You already got one once. I don't think it's worth it, man. You had a great time in the Cup Series, but time to hang it up. Maybe play a role with 2311. Go work with them. Go be, I don't know, go work with the 45 team next year.
Well, there's a million things you could do if you still got the
Mhm.
race bug. Again, I don't want to assume anybody's financial situation, but if I'm gonna go out on a limb, I'm gonna guess Kurt Busch is pretty set financially for the rest of his life. I'm sure he's not hurting for any money. So at this point, do what you enjoy. If you still want to be racing week in and week out, jump into dirt stuff, join World of Outlaws, jump into some short track asphalt stuff, play some roles behind the scenes with some of these teams. Maybe he looks to jump into another series somewhere else too. I'm sure with a guy like Kurt Busch has had the success that he has, the pedigree he has, the name he brings. If he does still want to continue racing, I'm sure there's going to be doors open with him in other series. And if he wants to stay involved with NASCAR, I'm sure there's going to be teams, 2311 most likely being one, that would love to have him on in some kind of role. So but if I'm him and I'm looking at this and I'm unsure of the future of this car after what just happened this year, I can't say I'd feel real confident stepping into one of these cars again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you hit it perfectly. One thing I would add though is that I think he's going to move to TV. We saw him do basically every single truck race in the booth with the guys before his whole concussion issue. So I really do think that he could, Fox is looking for that third guy. They always had a special guest every week this year with Boyer and Mike Joy. I think Kurt Busch would be that perfect third guy. I mean, Boyer and Kurt Busch, they were teammates for years. So I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
And he's just stepped out of this car. He knows exactly what he's talking about. Great personality. Everybody likes Kurt Busch. So I think it would be perfect fit for Fox.
And me too. And the other part of that is too. So you've got Mike Joy, who's all the way to the right side of the professional spectrum with not a whole lot of personality and comedy in there from time to time. Boyer's all the way on the other side where he's just a big goof all the time and whatever he adds, critically to the race is just kind of bonus on top of the comic relief. And then you
Mhm.
add a guy like Kurt Busch, who's probably somewhere in the middle. You can see him having some real good analysis of what it's like to drive the race cars and things that's going on. That the average fan may or may not be privy to. But he's also got a pretty good personality on him. He's a pretty funny guy too. So I think he'd be the perfect medium between those two.
Yeah, you got it there perfectly, bud. So yeah, a lot going on with NASCAR right now, a lot to still kind of figure out with everything. But Mike, before we end our show, you got anything else to add, bud?
On to the next round here, the playoffs, going to the round of 8 here. Um, this to me is when it really gets real now. You're kind of through. To me, this one was always to borrow a phrase from our good friend Mr. Connor Bunn. This is the gimmick round to me. You got Talladega, you had the Roval in there. This is kind of like the lottery round where you never really know what's going to happen, and sometimes the most deserving drivers don't always advance, which we saw once again with a guy like Kyle Larson having the issues that he did.
Mhm.
But from here on out, it gets pretty real. So now you really find out who the contenders are versus the pretenders, and we've got a really, really, really strong group of 8 here.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville. I mean, I'm all signed up for Homestead with these next gen cars, and we've known that these next gen cars have been amazing on mile and a halfs. Homestead's always been the top mile and a half track, so I cannot wait to see how they run on it. It's going to be
Yeah,
incredible.
those two races I think are going to be fantastic. As we know, just like you said, this car does put on a really, really entertaining race package on the 1.5ers. I'm intrigued to see what we can do at Homestead here. The only thing I worry is that track has run so great the last couple of years. The only way to go is down. It doesn't get much better than what we've seen. So
Yeah,
that's a little worrisome for me, but I'm not all that worried about it because once again, it is a mile and a half, and that's what this car tracks or this car's bread and butter track is. I am worried about Martinsville though. So
yeah.
we've seen racing there. Yeah.
From what we saw in the spring, I'm not really too hyped about Martinsville, but again, things can change. Who knows what will happen? But yeah, next round is going to be wild. I cannot wait to see who makes their way into the final four because right now, I got no idea who could win this championship right now. It's all up in the air. I mean, we've lost so many current champions that were in this playoffs. I mean, like Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott. Really, I think he's the only current champion that's involved in the playoffs right now.
Isn't Logano still in?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry,
So
Logano is
Joey.
in.
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
Joey. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but he's
So
he's really quietly consistent. I feel like
yeah,
that's how he made his way in.
that's been Penske this year.
Hmm.
Blaney doesn't have a real win outside the All Star race this
Yeah.
year, but this has been the most consistent season of his entire career outside of that. You know, Joey's kind of been that same way where he's got some wins. He's won some big races, but at the same time, he's just been super quiet and super consistent all year. That's kind of been the Penske way. So I think both of those guys could be deadly this round as well. Chase Elliott's white hot right now. I could
Hmm.
see him getting in. Um, but again, everybody in this championship 4 or the championship 8 so far, this last round of 8 is deserving to be there. So I could pretty much see everybody having a scenario where they could get their way into the championship 4.
Yeah, I'd say so. And right now, call me crazy, but I'm targeting Christopher Bell as my championship pick.
It's something we've talked about in years past with our playoff shows. We're getting to the time of year where it doesn't matter what you did the first 26. If you get white hot those last 10, that's what matters the most. So
Hmm.
Christopher Bell is very up and down throughout the regular season. Um, then they do that pit crew kind of swapperoo deal with him and Bubba Wallace's 23 team at the time then, and he takes off like a bat out of hell after that. And coming off a big win here, he's going to have some momentum. I could see it.
Yep. Yeah. Every week since the playoffs have started, really, he has looked hot. So yeah, I think C Bell, I think he's easily going to make his way into that final four. But yet again, every all 8 of these drivers that are in right now have a chance to get into that final four. They all look really good right now. So I'm excited. I think the round of 8 is going to be wild. And yeah, so I think that will end it for our show here. Mike, that was a great show. So glad we finally got to be back on after almost like a month of not doing the show.
Yeah, it feels good. I'm sure everyone's wondering why we're on hiatus and everything, and we'll get some answers out there. Unfortunately, just one of those things. We had some life stuff going on right in the middle of the season, which made it a little hard to film. Obviously, this is neither of our full-time day jobs or anything
Yeah.
like that. So some other things sometimes do come first. So real good to get back on. I've always felt like in the past our best shows come in the playoffs. So And I think we're coming back at a perfect time going into the round of 8. We're going to hit our groove here. And just like these championship aspirations for these drivers, we're going to take off, hit our groove, and going to be a lot of fun to keep up with along the way with us too.
That's right. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning into the Stock Car Spectacle, guys. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And if you haven't yet, make sure to like our video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So that will wrap it up for us. I'm Ian Jortson.
I'm Mike Gamble.
And we'll see you guys next time. Make sure to tune in to our Las Vegas preview coming up in a few days.